We moved to Costa Rica expecting a tropical paradise, but after 3.5 months of living here, it's not that simple. Things change when you go from it being an experience to you actually living here. So this is our take of our expectations versus the reality.
We decided to move to Costa Rica because we fell in love with the idea of the beaches, the jungle, the slow living paradise, and also wildlife. And it has been like that in some ways, but in other ways we were completely wrong. Nonetheless, we decided to live here for 3.5 months, and we're gonna share our honest experiences. But first, a quick summary before we dive in. Way more expensive than we could have ever imagined. Weather more unpredictable. Ocean a lot more alive than we expected. The wildlife, that has for sure exceeded our expectations. It's been amazing. But the biggest difference is actually how the first 2 months, we were kind of experiencing everything, and then we started to feel how it is living here, having a life here.
And the cost of living here is much more expensive than we have initially thought. And it's not only the food prices in the supermarket, it's also going to a restaurant. They do though have local sodas, which are somewhat more affordable, but overall I think the price is easily comparable to living back in Denmark where we came from. So they're very expensive. So it's not really a cheap travel destination. But luckily for us, we've been able to actually pick some fruit here at the Trivana, so that's at least saved us a bit of money. As you can see, we both picked bananas, water apples, papaya, and other small fruits. And tours, as an example, we have lived right next to WorkAway National Park, but we didn't go in. It was $145 per person for 1 day guided tour, way above our budget for sure.
The weather's been a lot more unpredictable than we had thought. On the Pacific side, where we were the first months, it was almost just sunny, very hot, a little humid, but not too bad. It was really nice. On the Caribbean side, it has been crazy. This week, for example, it's been really cloudy, and 1 minute it's raining, 1 minute it's like this, then it's stormy, and you can't really predict anything. It's very humid. We'll say we live up in the rainforest, so we would expect that, but it's been very humid and lots of rain. The wildlife here, I don't even know where to begin. It's beyond exceeded our expectations. Both on the Pacific side and here on the Caribbean side. I'm not lying, but we haven't had 1 day without spotting any wildlife. And with wildlife, I mean monkeys every day, toucans, macaws, both the red and the green. And an example, we just arrived here to the Caribbean side and we walked up and down the main street for 2 hours and we saw 23 sloths. It was crazy. It's been great also with frogs and other bird species, and even when we went diving at Canyo Island, we saw hammerhead shark, manta ray, so many turtles and sharks and dolphins while kayaking in Golfo Dulce. It's been, I would say, the highlight of living in Costa Rica. I don't know if you agree.
Oh, definitely agree.
Yeah, yeah.
For sure. Yeah. But that's also why we came.
Yeah.
Main reason. So.
Yeah, that's true.
The ocean has surprised us quite a bit. We knew it's not going to be like a Turkish blue flat ocean all the way, but we had hoped somewhat that some of the beaches would be in that direction. But they've been very wild. You have here in Cocles, in Puerto Viejo area, there's a lot of red flags, so you're not allowed to swim there. Also in Cahuita, there's a lot of red flags, starting to get green now. But it's been very rough. I think today is one of the more calmest day we've ever seen here, but it can change just as the weather, like change from minute to minute. So that has surprised us quite a lot.
Yeah, not as much snorkeling as we had hoped for. We really hoped we would do a good bit of snorkeling, especially over here. We haven't actually snorkeled one bit. So yeah, slightly disappointed. We were hoping more for calm Caribbean beaches. Costa Rica is not the place for that, no. Yeah.
Unfortunately not. But the oceans on both the Pacific and the Caribbean side is still absolutely fabulous, and they're so beautiful.
Oh, and just to clarify, we've only been in Costa Rica in January, February, and March, half of April. So the weather and the ocean will, of course, be a bit different at different times a year. And we can only speak of the period that we've been here, regards to the season.
And what's it's actually like living here? Well, our daily life is wake up 5 a.m., 5:30, depending on when the howler monkeys decide to announce it's time for us to wake up, along with the birds. I think they're in cooperation there. We've been doing WorkAway here for about 3.5 hours a day for 5 times a week. But we'll talk more about that later in this video. Daily life here has been very simple. Our everyday life has mostly just been doing content creation and WorkAway, going out for hikes, spotting wildlife while doing so, and then also spend time at the beach whenever the weather actually allows it.
Getting used to the slow pace and walking around to everything. We're used to having a car in Denmark. We haven't had one since, obviously, so we're walking around to everything. It's been nice.
Living here really taught us something that we didn't expect when moving here. It taught us to slow down, do less, and just be more present in the moment, and realize that we don't actually need much in our everyday life, and we're really grateful for that lesson. It also made us realize that we don't need an everyday that is so slow as it's been here. So living here in Costa Rica taught us that we need more than what we've got. We need adventure, and we need to be challenged a lot more. We need to meet new people and see new places. We thrive in a slightly more action-packed every day than what we experienced here in Costa Rica.
A thing we didn't expect while living here is the amount of Spanish we've been speaking. In Puerto Jimenez, we spoke a bit, broken Spanish, but we tried. Here is mostly native English speakers, a lot of foreigners and tourists, so we're not really practicing it at all. That's a bit of a shame. We had hoped to learn some more.
And the 3.5 months we've been here in Cocktails, actually, we've been doing WorkAway, and that means that we're volunteering and helping out at a place called Trivana, and then we get a place to stay for free. So it's a very cheap and easy way for us to actually live there. The days are mostly unpredictable. Of course, we do have a set schedule for throughout the week. But it very much depends on the weather, the bookings, as well as specific chores that the owners and hosts needs our help with.
And in more official terms, the WorkAway is called a cultural exchange, and we have to be honest, it hasn't really felt like that. As I just mentioned before, there is more foreigners here, and the owners of Trivana, they're Americans. We've learned some other things, especially with the plants and wildlife and stuff. They've taught us something and a bit about the culture as well, but it hasn't been quite the Costa Rican cultural exchange that as we had hoped for. We've also had some challenges. Living in the rainforest definitely has its pros with the wildlife, but it also has some cons. It's very humid. So no matter what we do, our things are still molding a bit, like my wallet, my rain jacket, our very disgusting fanny pack, and Benjamin's camera bag as well. But yeah, it is how it is, but we have to replace a few things. So that's a little bit annoying. We have to have the fan on at all times, and that's fine, but it's still very humid. But then there is the power outs. We can't even count the times we've had a power out and the times a Wi-Fi isn't working due to either weather, unpredictable weather, but also due to workers cutting our lines accidentally, and also the public transportation. There is a lot of options. We will give Costa Rica that, but it's kind of a jungle to figure out which buses goes to where, at what time, what place, and to be honest, it rarely takes the time that the schedule says. For example, we were miraculously only 2 hours late from San Jose to Cahuita, and oh boy, the journey getting from Manuel Antonio to Jimenez, I'm not even gonna start. And in the rainforest, of course, there's also loads of insects, especially also spiders. Mostly for me, that's been a challenge, but it's been manageable, and I've become a lot better.
And then there is our favorite place so far, It's been without a doubt Puerto Jimenez, where we were all the way in the beginning. We ended up spending 3 weeks there, and it was the Costa Rica we've actually been looking for, have been hoping for. It was the Costa Rica we hoped we also got over here. It was a more authentic vibe, locals, not so many tourists, a crazy amount of wildlife. It was the first time we saw both macaws and sloths for us, like in the wild. We had our own local sunset spot, the only place we've actually been able to see a real sunset here, more or less. So we really like that, having a sundowner, watching the sunset together with all the locals on the beach. It's a very nice experience. And then, yeah, just overall the Costa Rica we were hoping for.
While planning to live in Costa Rica for 3.5 months, there wasn't really any doubt in either of us, I think, about, of course, we were going to make some friends. On the Pacific side, we were there for a month, so we weren't really committed to making friends there. Over here, 2.5 months, we were like, oh yeah, of course, we're going to make friends. But most people living here at a different place in their lives. Most of them have settled down, enjoying the slow living, and we enjoy that as well, but we haven't settled down. We just began our adventure. The young people here are mainly tourists, and they're very young and they party, and we're also not at that point anymore. We have been there, so we're kind of in between what's here socially. Maybe we haven't sought it enough. That's also definitely a point to make, and we're kind of sad about that. But yeah, we'll make friends on the PCT.
Yay! And a trail family.
Yay! So is Costa Rica what we expected? Not really. In some ways, it was even better than we expected, like the wildlife and being surrounded by nature all the time. But it also changed something. Not that Costa Rica did change, but we did. As we mentioned, everything was really new and exciting and thrilling for the first 2 months, and then we started to feel like we're living here. And I think when something or somewhere becomes more like alive, you start to reflect, and we reflected on what we really need. And we've been loving to slow down, but Costa Rica kind of made us realize that we are not ready to settle down yet. We need new places, new adventures, new challenges, although it's been amazing and we wouldn't change anything.
Our final thoughts: is Costa Rica worth it? Absolutely. Absolutely, yes, it is. It's not the cheapest, it's not the easiest, but it has unique wildlife, and the nature here is just incredible. So it's for sure it's worth going here, and the slow lifestyle is definitely present. So if that's what you're into, you should definitely go here. And to us, when it's nice slowing down, I think it's just a bit too slow too soon,
Yeah.
too slow, too soon. But yeah, we're actually ready to move on now, and ready to start the next adventure, which will be a road trip in the United States, and then followed by the Pacific Crest Trail through hike attempt. So
If you want to follow how we build our life abroad, we highly encourage you to subscribe and tag along this crazy, daring adventure with us.
and thank you so much for watching. Please leave a comment if you have any remarks, questions, or suggestions to future content. Take care, everybody.
Thank you!